Hello, girls and baubles. This video is for anyone who has an interest simultaneously in the teachings of divine truth, as well as the scientific experiments that have been conducted that help prove that the earth is flat. As a brief summary, the teachings of the divine truth have been promulgated by one Alan John Miller, who claims to be Jesus of Nazareth. They encompass a wide body of information about the universe and suggest that God is the creator of the universe, of which we are a part. For more information, check out the Divine Truth channel on YouTube or go to divinetruth.com. I will start by saying that when I was around 10 years old, I watched a program on the Fox network that delved into what they called conspiracy theories that the moon landings, as orchestrated by NASA, were a hoax. This show had enough evidence to make me seriously doubt the moon landings. Years later, when I was about 15, I listened to a song by the Red Hot Chili Peppers called Californication. I remember one line from that song that struck me like a gong. Space may be the final frontier, but it was made in a Hollywood basement. To me, this was a popular mainstream song. Why would they suggest such a thing? It didn't sound like a funny joke. They sounded serious. Why would NASA lie? Why did they think they could get away with it? When I thought about it, if the moon landings were a hoax, they were a well-orchestrated hoax. A large majority of people in the United States believes they were real. Then I had another question. How could people be so easily fooled? Well, the years passed. When I was about 28 years old, I'm 31 now, I came across a video on YouTube produced by Eric Dubay. The video suggested the earth was flat. I remember my initial shock. I even closed the video because I thought it was too ridiculous. But eventually, I watched all of it. Later, I watched more and more. The evidence that was presented was incredibly profound. I spent much of my time from that point watching flat earth videos and found them very persuasive. Then I came across A.J. Miller and the Divine Truth teachings. These teachings were very profound as well. They answered my questions about God and whether suffering is part of the design of the universe. As well, they answered many questions about Jesus' life on earth in the first century. In addition, how he healed people, which was a big question of mine. How did Jesus heal people? One of the major components of the Divine Truth teachings is the set of laws that were created by God and set in operation in the universe that he created. Some of these are called the law of cause and effect, the law of compensation, the law of forgiveness and repentance. There are many laws that AJ says are in effect. The ones that AJ talks about, AJ Alan John Miller, have more to do with what might be termed spiritual laws. They are not physical laws like the ones we know from Isaac Newton. There are also certain laws that are in effect whose operation is superseded by what can be called higher laws. One example is the law of divine love, which supersedes the effects of the law of compensation. For more information on these items, please look at the Divine Truth channel or the website. When AJ is illustrating how a higher law can supersede a lower law, he will often give the example of the law of gravity and the law of aerodynamics. He will point out how a heavy object suspended in the air is induced by the law of gravity to fall. However, that fall will be circumvented by the law of aerodynamics if that object uses a thrusting mechanism, which would change its downward momentum. I had trouble initially when I heard these things, because my research into the flat earth suggested that the law of gravity as worked out by such people as Einstein would be flawed if the earth was flat. If our earth was indeed flat, it would be the laws of buoyancy that would govern the fall of objects. Whereas the law of gravity suggests that a strong magnetic pull attracts objects in the air, The law of buoyancy suggests that an object falls through the air simply because the air is so light. Even more simply put, the law of buoyancy suggests that heavy objects fall and light objects rise. A question arose in my mind as I considered this. If AJ was Jesus, and was the one soul whose progress led him to be the closest to God, and he knew many profound truths that others did not, why would he not know that the earth was flat, as I believed? I decided to contact AJ, so I sent an email asking if he had ever looked into the flat earth. As a response, I was directed by an office team member to watch a video where AJ talks about the universe. I had seen this video before and had stopped watching it because it didn't fit with the beliefs I had researched up to that point. Eventually I decided to stick to it and watch the whole thing. Basically, AJ believes the heliocentric cosmology of the Earth. In other words, he believes that the Earth and 8 other planets revolve around the Sun in our solar system, one of many solar systems in our galaxy being one of many galaxies. Here I will mention what AJ claims to know about God and the universe. God is a being who has a massive amount of love. God also has both masculine characteristics and feminine characteristics. God created souls of an infinite number who, before they incarnate, do not have a conscious awareness of themselves. God created a universe in which these souls could incarnate. At the moment of conception, 2 bodies are created. One body exists in the physical universe. One body exists in the spiritual universe. Both of these bodies are connected to the soul. Parenthetically, although it is not relevant to the topic, after these 2 bodies which are connected to the soul are created, 2 more bodies will, at a future time, be created at a different moment of conception with different parents. These 2 bodies are connected to the same soul. In essence, there are only 4 bodies that one soul can have. These 4 bodies are meant to develop and embrace an awareness of themselves as one soul and unite together. That's not a very good explanation, but you can look into it more if you have a desire. Moving on, the physical body, the spirit body, and the soul can be said to exist in 3 separate realms that are connected interdimensionally. This connection can be seen in the other realms. There is a cord that connects, in other words, spirits can see people on earth. In fact, people on earth can see people in the spirit world, although that doesn't often happen. This connection can be seen in the other realms. There is a cord that connects the physical body to the spirit body called the silver cord. There is also a cord connecting the spirit body to the soul called the golden cord. When the physical body can no longer maintain its vitality, the silver cord that connects it to the spirit body is broken. That experience is known as death. But it is not death in the traditional sense, because the soul and spirit still exist. The spirit body then continues its existence in the spirit world. Now, all I really had to do there was say that AJ believes there is a spirit world. In other words, that whole explanation, I could have just said, AJ believes there is a spirit world. But that is to say, he believes there is a life after death. However, because I love this information so much, I thought I would share as much as I did. Okay, so, about the spirit world, the important thing to know is that people who exist in the spirit world are just like anyone you would meet on a city street, except that most of us cannot or choose not to see them. Furthermore, these spirits can be communicated with, and most of us communicate with them every day and all the time. These communications can be as simple as feelings or as pronounced as thoughts or voices. The spirits can also be channeled. To divert for a moment, AJ believes that there are or may be other forms of life on other planets in his heliocentric cosmology. Although he believes this, he seems to not have met anyone from other planets. In all of the memories he relates to his audience in the Divine Truth videos, he does not discuss any meetings with people from other planets. The spirit world, he says, is defined by levels or spheres, and there are higher and lower spheres. The development of love in your soul determines what level you are in. In one spirit communication session, AJ speaks with a person who is in the 6th sphere of the spirit world, who is channeled through Anto Klobukar. This spirit is known as a Pleiadian woman. Now, the Pleiades is a star cluster in the heliocentric cosmology around which there are planets. But according to the video, the Pleiadian woman only believes she is from another planet, although she is actually from Earth. In other videos, AJ says there are many spirits in the spirit world that believe they are from somewhere else but are not. Apparently, according to AJ, all the spirits we can communicate with are from the Earth. Now, AJ will say that there are things that he doesn't know. He has talked about how this is his second incarnation on the Earth. In the process of this incarnation, he did not initially know that he was Jesus. He had memories that he couldn't understand. It was only around the time he was 40 years old that he embraced the truth about himself, at which point he began remembering more. So then, I must assume that there are other things that he does not remember. He will say as much. He has said that, as he develops and remembers more and more, many of the things he has said up until now will have to be changed. So, although I believe the Earth is flat, I think it is possible that I am wrong. I invest heavily in the work of A.J. Miller. I have been following his teachings and attempting to get closer to God by using his suggestions. Although I do this, I believe that A.J. Miller could be wrong about his heliocentric cosmology and his belief that the Earth is a globe. And his belief that the Earth is a globe is a result of his propensity to accept some false beliefs in this incarnation. As he has stated, he could have come to Earth in a more developed physical body. He could have just manifested a body from his spirit, or from his soul. However, if he had done so, there would have been danger that people would see him as a god. He claims he is not God, and the Christian teaching of a triune God is false. Instead, he chose to reincarnate and accept to grow in a body which would inevitably have many emotional injuries, which he says would attract physical imperfections like disease, illness, physical harm, and unfortunate events. Incidentally, he claims that the state of the soul, having emotional injuries, will always lead to physical manifestations of illness and suffering. So, it could be that the fact of the Earth being flat is something that AJ has not yet recalled, although I doubt that. Most channeled messages I have read suggest the Earth is a globe. I don't know at this point, and that's why I made this video. I am very confused. There are many things that convince me that the Earth is flat. One is the paths that airplanes take when flying above the Earth. Their paths always make more sense on the flat Earth map. Another thing is the law of buoyancy, which beats out very easily the strange law of gravity that seems so very flawed in the first place. Another thing is the fact that the horizon line of the Earth always remains at eye level, no matter how high you go in an airplane or how high an amateur weather balloon with a camera goes. On a ball, the horizon line would dip and very quickly reveal an obvious curve of the Earth. When you look out the window of an airplane, the curve is not obvious, as it should be. Another proof is the ability to see long distances, even boats that are far away on the ocean or lake or ocean. These boats should disappear completely, but do not. Cameras with lenses that can detect faraway objects sometimes need to be used to see these boats and land masses. It appears that light refraction is the typical cause of their so-called disappearance. Also, it doesn't make sense that the sun is so far away or that it is the same size as the moon. Many of NASA's claims also don't make sense. The fact that NASA hasn't sent men to the moon in many years suggests that something is fishy. How could NASA send a man to the moon in 1969 and have it be so easily broadcasted, and now, with even better technology, it is not a regular occurrence? I have to conclude that A.J. Miller does not know everything. Specifically, I don't believe he has studied very intensely some of these contradictions. That makes sense because he will often say that laws that govern the progress of the soul are more essential to man, to us, than physical laws. To close, I will read a quote from a science hero of mine, Nikola Tesla. In this quote, Tesla gives his own observations on the nature of the Earth. Earth is a realm. It is not a planet. It is not an object. Therefore, it has no edge. Earth would be more easily defined as a system environment. Earth is also a machine. It is a Tesla coil. The sun and moon are powered wirelessly with the electromagnetic field, in parentheses, the ether. This field also suspends the celestial spheres with electromagnetic levitation. Electromagnetic levitation disproves gravity because the only force you need to counter is the electromagnetic force, not gravity. The stars are attached to the firmament.